All right, so I have switched back to the shaded viewport. So all I did was I went from rendered, and I clicked on this one right here, shaded viewport. Brought me back to this view, which is one of the ones I really like. I now want to show you the other method of applying materials, and then it's going to segue into what the latter part of this class is going to discuss, which is raster imagery. I want to show you how to assign a material using the layer, basically. It's kind of the more intuitive way of assigning materials. So basically, all of these items here, so let's say this one right here was plane of 50% opacity, I think it was, that one. These are out of order too. Yeah, do that later. So the plane of 50% opacity, if I want to change the material, I can just click on Did I freeze? Oh, hey, it's on the other screen. Sorry. I could just click on that button and it'll bring up my materials menu. Or, yeah, menu. Dialog box, whatever you want to call it. Now, I am not going to discuss the actual material yet. I'm going to save that for chapter 2, which is kind of more on Thursday of this week. But I do want you to be aware that you can actually change transparencies right here. So this transparency is a way of selecting, it basically just takes your default gray material and makes it transparent. Now, the problem is I can't see that here. I can't see my beams behind this. That's because the material settings exist in your rendered viewport. So they're basically, they only show up when it's rendered. So if I go to my rendered viewport now, you can see that those settings are brought down. Okay, so this is why I want you to be aware of a term that I use quite a bit. It's called best practices, okay? Editing something by object is okay if you're just kind of doing a quick study of something, but generally you want things to be layer controlled. It provides a layer, it provides a whole level of economy to your model so that you can just take all of your transparencies and translucencies up or down as a family rather than each particular object. Go back to the shaded viewport. Now, unfortunately, I'm not aware of a way to show that quality in the shaded viewport. So just be aware that that's a limitation you're going to have to explore by jumping back and forth between the two. Okay, so you may want to just kind of jump over to your rendered viewport and look at it a little bit, and then jump back to your shaded viewport to do some editing where it's easier and more schematic in a way. Okay. So additionally, here in the material settings, you can also change the color a little bit if you want. So maybe you can like do kind of a light blue sort of, or even if you wanted to go really dark blue, right? It creates a rather blue tone to it. So that rendered viewport is going to actually show you a colored tonality as well. So it doesn't have to be just your typical grays and grays and whites and stuff like that. So what this is doing is it's processing a very watered down version of the materials that you've actually applied to it, which when we start to use Maxwell, they're gonna go hand in hand. So you'll be able to see a simplified version of your render materials from that here in the Rhino environment before you actually export it to a full level quality. Okay. Now you won't really see reflections. You won't see too much of your lighting conditions. You'll see some, not much. Okay. Let's see. Go back to, wait. And I don't think I want to show you the rest of this yet, because we're not going to be doing textures really very much. Okay, so on the subject of layer control, I think before we move into understanding raster images, I don't really want to show you much more at this point. And so I'll start to roll out new, bits of knowledge on these different subjects more as we progress through meeting them, basically. Okay. Any questions on that? Yes.
For the grayscale, do you control that in materials too?
Yeah. Yes, you would. So let's go to the 80% grayscale beam. What I would do in this case is basically just make it black and then change your RGB values. And I forget what they came out to be. I think it was like 71 or something like that. So that one was 71. Hit OK. And so this one was like 141. Or 142, something like that. And the last one, I think 204 was okay, actually. Oh, 204 was the actual number. Okay. 204. 204. Okay. There we go. And so then when you go into your rendered viewport, it'll show the different shades. So here we can actually see it showing up with a slightly different tone. Oh yeah, I just triggered something that I totally forgot about. When you go into rendered viewport, it renders the kind of basic color tonality and some elementary shadows, but if you can't edit in the rendered viewport, so when you select, actually, can you? Maybe you can. I thought you couldn't. Oh, I guess you can. I almost lied to you again. That's twice in one day. I'm on a roll, guys. So I don't know why I just triggered that, but anyway, so yeah. So yeah, you can use that as a grayscale, and it's really just a color. It's just a shade of color that gets applied to it. Simple answer is yes. Yes, you can. Any other questions? Okay. So let's take a quick. I'm going to say 5 minutes, but if you guys are really wiped out from that really long lecture where we didn't actually do much, I can give you 10. And then we're going to move into some raster-based discussions, which is really important to understand going forward.